Tonight on CTV News, the government announces major changes to the way it runs Christchurch, but is there much of a change at all? A stinky suburb gets up the nose of local businesses, and funding setbacks for a coastal pathway project.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. We begin tonight with some breaking news. As we go to air, there are unconfirmed reports of multiple fatalities at a house in Ashburton. Police have cordoned off part of Thompson Street between Wilkins Street and Manchester Street. St John ambulance services have been called to reports of cardiac arrests, but were met by police who say there are multiple deaths involved. Police are not saying anything more at this moment, but this news is just coming through. Let me repeat that tonight. There are unconfirmed reports of multiple fatalities at a house in Ashburton this afternoon. News Talk ZB is now reporting. A neighbour says firefighters wearing breathing apparatus have since entered the house. St John ambulance is at the scene, and 3 emergency services at this stage are refusing to comment anymore. But if there's any more on this breaking news, you'll hear it here first on CTV News. To the day's other news story, as we also go to air tonight, a search and rescue operation is underway in Lyttelton Harbour for a man believed to have fallen overboard from a container ship. The ship came into the harbour about 1:30 this afternoon. A hard hat and gloves have been found nearby. News Talk ZB reports 16 boats and 2 helicopters are searching for a 52-year-old Filipino man. Police and the Coast Guard are monitoring drift patterns as the extensive search continues. Well, the other big story of the day, new legislation and a development authority will be introduced this year as the government changes its oversight of the Christchurch rebuild. The Prime Minister told 500 business people today that the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Bill will be introduced to replace Sarah's special powers. John Key says in an effort to speed up anchor projects, a new organisation will also be set up.
The government will continue to control parts of the central rebuild, but it's a move that has the full support of the City Council. While Sarah's powers are mandated to the end of April 2016, there will now be another 5 years of transition until the council takes over full control of the city's rebuild. Called Regenerate Christchurch, the new entity will be enacted in law later this year, replacing the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act, which came into force after the earthquakes. The decision derives from a report by Sarah's recently established Transition Advisory Board, chaired by former Prime Minister Dame Jenny Shipley. Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee said today he would oversee the new entity. In effect, the new entity will have a smaller remit than Sarah and would focus on the rebuild of anchor projects and the precincts in the CBD. Today, Prime Minister John Key said there will be an opportunity for further engagement with strategic partners, and public feedback on the new entity will be open until the end of July. The Mayor says another 5 years of Crown governments on the city's rebuild is a good thing.
I think it's great news for Christchurch. What it means is that we're able to sit down and work collaboratively with central government about what the next steps are going to look like. Quite excited about the idea of moving from recovery to regeneration. That's a step change for the city, so it's a great thing. Council and government, neither one nor the other can do it on their own. And I think an expression that I've been using to kind of judge things by is, what's best for Christchurch? What's best for Christchurch? And I think having council and government working hand in hand, that's what's best for Christchurch.
Also today, Minister Brownlee was on hand to announce its favourite builder, Fletcher Residential, will help develop the $800 million East and North Frame residential precinct. On the eastern boundary of the CBD, the development will build 940 new townhouses and apartments accommodating up to 2,200 residents. And next, Fletcher Residential will purchase 7 hectares of land in the area between Manchester and Mandurah Streets, from just north of the Avon River down to Lichfield Street. Brownlee says the completed construction could take up to 9 years, but the first homes are expected to be complete within 18 months. Its expected construction will begin in November this year, but first up, public spaces will be created in the frame before the end of the year. The properties are expected to be sold for between $400,000 and $900,000. Brownlee says the move is expected to bring more people into the CBD.
A significant part of that was closing up the area of the CBD and making an effort to get more people living close into the central city to create that sort of dynamic that makes cities all around the world very exciting and livable.
And the Mayor agrees.
I think that's going to be great, and it's going to have a real significant combination of housing options. So townhouses ranging from, I think, 400,000 to 900,000 at the swanky end of the field. But because they're all part of a sort of a development that will happen over time, I think that's also going to be really good for the city. The more people that live in the city, the more vibrant and exciting it's going to be.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
But Labor says today's announcement of this new governance arrangements for Canterbury seems to be nothing more than a fresh coat of paint on the old same approach. Ruth Dyson says the Canterbury recovery has been too slow with delays to major anchor projects. She says at first glance there's actually nothing new in today's announcements to speed up progress. Well, is she right? Well, joining me tonight is property developer Anthony Goff and Rebuild Christchurch's Dion Swiggs. Dion, let me start with you. Is Ruth Dyson right? It's more of the same, isn't it? It's Sarah with a new name.
Actually, just at first glance, I thought the same thing. I've actually just had a chance to have a good look through the whole document, and there are a lot of differences. There are a lot of changes. For example, the residential red zone in Christchurch here, one of the big changes is Lynn's is actually going to be in charge of that from now on. So there's a number of changes in there that are fundamental to how Sarah work, and it is different. The central city stuff is going to be very similar. You've got CCDU now, that'll probably change to something called Regenerate Christchurch potentially. But the conversation is starting. This is 3 weeks now, or 4 weeks, we've got to have this massive conversation. It's probably one of the most important conversations Christchurch has had in its history. And as a community, we really need to get along, read this document that they've put out today and actually understand it so that we can actually have a conversation around what our future is going to be.
There is fundamentally no difference, though, between Regeneration Christchurch and the CCDU, isn't it? Is there?
I don't understand. I can't understand what's going on in that part of the document. They don't know. There's a couple of words that they're saying.
That's convenient, isn't it?
Exactly. So there's a few words in there that are going, oh, this is what's going on, but let's work that out. And this is our opportunity to actually say what's going on. What do we think? The
concern I have, though, is that with all the delays from most of the anchor projects under the umbrella Sarah, are we supposed to all be so stupid that's going to now disappear and we're going to have Regeneration Christchurch that takes over?
Regenerate Christchurch, from what I understand here, will be a collaboration of the council are doing their central city rebuild project at the moment, and this is going to hopefully work together. So hopefully this means that the council with Sarah or the government will actually work together and implement those projects. MB are actually going to be in charge of fundamentally looking after those anchor projects once Sarah leaves, from what I can read in the document, which means MB will have more of a control over that rather than Sarah. And there's also going to be that tie-in with the Prime Minister and Cabinet there as well. A few changes. We'll still work out what's going on.
But the fundamental changes to Sarah's powers, they won't change for 5 years. Am I right or wrong about that?
No, I think you're quite wrong there, and this is when I looked into the document, I actually figured out what was going on a little bit. There are a lot of powers, such as, at the moment, the Minister can say to Council, I don't like what you're doing, you change it. That won't be the case after the new legislation comes through. The new legislation is going to work around, look at things such as we need to speed up this and they need to speed up that, but there isn't going to be the powers where the minister or any one minister can go and say, you need to change what you're doing, such as changing district plans.
So they can only
like
say,
that.
So these powers will mean speed up things? They have the power to speed up
They
things?
will have this power to speed up issues around, say, residential red zones, so that means that Lynn's will have the power to be able to do what they need to do for the future use there.
A shame though the same speed up approach can't be taken for the Metro Sports Facility, the Convention Centre, the Avon River Precinct, the Breathe Urban Centre. Need I say more?
Yeah, Sarah's legislation at the moment can make recovery plans. So we've got the Christchurch Central Recovery Plan, the Littleton Plan that's not quite done, the Littleton Port Recovery Plan, and there's also the Red Zone Offer Plan for Red Zone in the residential. Those plans aren't done yet. Hopefully they'll be done before the legislation, because the new legislation won't allow potentially for that to happen.
Okay, I want to bring Anthony Goff in here. Anthony, fundamentally with the changes to the east frame, north frame, whatever, is it a start? Is it good? What are your impressions? What do you like about it? What do you don't?
I think it's actually really good. I think it would be a terrible shame if we had the government run away from Christchurch and say, ta-ta, we've spent 5 years here, get on with it. We need their help to get there.
On the screen here, Anthony, I want you to talk about this. What are we seeing here? What do you like about this? Is this a step in the right direction? This is Fletcher's is now going to be looking after this new eastern frame. Is it workable?
It certainly is. It's got what they call the linear park, which goes straight down the middle of the block. That's very important because that means there'll be a lot more people that will be able to face onto a park area. We need living close to the CBD, and we haven't had that in the past, and that's what we're going to do. So here we've seen the linear park down the middle with all those lovely houses looking onto it. Hey, I reckon it'd be a fantastic place to live. And you've got all these bars and restaurants that I'm going to be creating. Hey, come and join us. We'll be open at the end of next year. It's all go. So great timing, and great that the government's not running away. They could have easily. Next year's an election year. Hey, they could say, gee, we need to put the effort into Auckland. That's where the voters are. No, they've stayed with us. And I think that's really important and really good. And also to engage better with our local council. That's good.
What was your immediate reaction to the news that Sarah was kind of pulling back and there'll be these new legislations that will get rid of the other legislations?
I think that's good. They need to pull back. It's hard to set rules 5 years in advance, which is what they did 5 years ago. So it's time for a change. Need to really look at the platform we're working from and move forward. And I'm not surprised that the anchor projects are stretched out a bit. Hey, mine was. Everything takes longer than you ever imagined. We'd all like it to happen tomorrow, but it's not going to. Reality's got to be there. Somebody's got to pay for it. And I think there's been a reality check, and I think it's very positive for Christchurch.
Let's hope that positive stuff continues. Dion Swiggs and Anthony Goff, appreciate your time tonight. Well, still to come here on CTV News. We've still got 3 shots here, don't know why. Christchurch's Coastal Pathways opens another section, but there's still a long way to go. Stay with us. Welcome back to CTV News as we continue with our breaking and developing story tonight. News Talk ZB is now reporting streets have been put in lockdown in Ashburton amid reports of multiple fatalities. They are still unconfirmed at this stage. Ashburton Guardian editor Stu Oldham says his reporters are at the scene of Thompson Street and say cordons are up in place between Manchester and Wilkins Street. He says they're yet to get any confirmation of any fatalities at this stage, but an ambulance was seen leaving with its lights on. Police are also yet to confirm any details. We'll bring you more information as it comes to hand here at CTV News. Well, the next section of the Christchurch Coastal Pathway is complete, but there's still a long way to go, with funding setbacks causing issues for the project. And that project stretches from Mount Pleasant to Sumner. Here's Jared McCulloch.
It's another step forward for this project in Christchurch, with the continued construction of the pathway around the city's southern beach area. The Christchurch Coastal Pathways Group has just opened the next stage of the project, with the section now connecting the Sumner Causeway with Scott Park. And a representative from the group says she's happy with the progress.
It always takes longer than we think, but we can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
The first stretch of the course sees the road being turned into 3 lanes for traffic, with the start of the pathway coming off the Ferrymead Bridge.
In between the pathway and the road is a sort of rain garden that filters all the runoff, makes sure that we mitigate, the effect of anything that could be bad for the estuary. Environmental design is a big part of the pathway.
The entire project has been split into 6 different sections, starting from Mount Pleasant around to Redcliffs and finishing in Sumner. But it has struck a bit of a problem, with Coastal Pathways missing out with extra funding from the government in the latest round of Crown Cash. They've already received the backing from the Christchurch City Council, who extended $10 million towards the feasibility and costs of the project, with a number of donations from organisations and private sponsorships and a number of fundraising efforts. However, they still need a lot more cash to complete the pathway from start to finish.
We have had a lot of political support, so we're hopeful that we will get government funding. We've got an amazing vision for an international standard pathway, and to achieve that we need about $25 million.
So far, the base path from Ferrymead Bridge to the end of McCormick's Bay Causeway has been laid down. Further around, power lines have been moved underground from the Redcliffs village to Monks Bay. And also construction is continuing for the pathway around Beachville Road to the village, commitment from the council and Fulton Hogan. And just recently, plans have continued with a cycleway heading to Sumner that will link with the pathway, something Liz is excited to see.
It's called the Rapanui Shag Rock cycleway, and it will finish at Ferrymead Bridge, and then cyclists will be able to go along on the coastal pathway. So that was great.
The main focus for the organisation is to continue getting the base pathway down before they move on to adding features such as furniture and a redesigned wharf for the public to use.
We probably need another 10 or so from government, or at least some government funding, and then the Coastal Pathway Group are really committed to raising money for the structures and the design features and the things that will make it an amazing place to be.
The group is working alongside Skirt to get the job done at the same time as they repair roads. The next step is the Beachville area near the Christchurch Yacht Club, expected to be completed by this time next year. But she believes there's a positive mood from the locals.
I think everyone out here is delighted to be driving on smooth surfaces, but even though this section of the pathway is only short, it's still being really well used. There's people on it every weekend.
It's not understood yet when the project will be completed, but for now they'll be working hard to get the money together to finish an asset for the area. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And we have some more breaking news as we go to air tonight in Ashburton. Police have now confirmed 4 people have been found dead at a house in Ashburton. Just repeating that, we now have confirmation 4 people have been found dead in a house in Ashburton. We don't know why, we don't have those details yet. Police are hoping to hold a media conference sometime tonight. The property is in Tinwood. Inspector Dave Gaskin has been quoted as saying ambulance staff and firefighters remain at the scene. Cordons around the area, a 1k radius have been put in place. Police say it's too early to provide more details, but they do hope to provide media with more details later on this evening. So just repeating that incredibly sad news, we can report tonight police have confirmed 4 people have been found dead in a house in Ashburton, but at this stage we don't know the cause of death. Well, still to come here on CTV News, your local business update. And welcome back to CTV News. Now here's Warren Head with this week's business update.
Hi, I'm Warren Head from headliner.co.nz. The latest auctions have occurred for dairy products. And of course, New Zealand being the dominant player has figured rather largely in the outcome. And that is unfortunately another drop, taking the market down to the lowest level in about 6 years. It was about 6% off overall, and the whole milk price, whole milk powder price has come down about 10.8%, which is quite disturbing, considering that there's going to be a lot of product now starting to come to market, including our own dairy season not too far away. So more product on the market. The economists are talking grimly about what the outcome might be for the forthcoming auctions. However, we can only wait and see. They have levelled out in the past, and it's all a question of who's buying what and when, but at the moment it's all downward stuff. So our currency is at 67 cents to the US dollar, which means, of course, a little bit hard now for spending power on overseas trips, but great for the tourists coming to Christchurch in particular, those coming in for the ski season with a good dump on Mount Hutt to encourage them to come here. The backdrop from Europe, of course, is the ongoing debt crisis in Greece. We haven't been paying too much attention to that. It doesn't seem to be disturbing things for the major currencies either at this stage. The Greeks are basically looking to say no to the latest austerity measures, and they vote on Sunday. One little piece of information there that rather took my eye was the fact that Germany has got about 90 billion euros stuck in the Greek economy. How did it get into such a shocking position? Well, they took over the debt that the banks had, which they couldn't take any further. So that's how the sovereign debt has shifted badly in the favour of badly towards those big markets. Well, on the market, the equity market here, the big deal of the week was the announcement that Briscoe has bought almost 20% of Kathmandu and will be making a full takeover bid before the month is out. They paid a $1.80 share price for their 19.9% top-up of about 14%, and that was a little bit above the market. So quite obviously Briscoe have got a very big war chest, and they're expected to fully fund this. On the local front in our province, an interesting deal today where Yealand's Wines in Marlborough, which has been looking for a buyer for a while, found one right at home with the Marlborough Lines Company. rather innovative, don't you think, to think that your local lines operator can put away enough money to buy a big winery like that, one of the biggest export winery businesses in the country, and they apparently have some $100 million worth of assets outside of their province. Something for the City Council to think about in terms of how we do things here. And finally, somebody who wants to do something rather exciting here is Rocket Lab, looking to put rockets into space. Has orders, they say, for about 30 small satellites to go on these rockets, and they're looking at Burnings Flat if they get through all the consents processes. And already the environmental lobbyists are saying that they don't want it there and that it will compromise the natural habitat, including endangered lizards. I'm Warren Head for headliner.co.nz.
Thanks, Warren. And now it's time for the region's weather.
Kia ora Canterbury. Well, those northwesterly winds were back again today, gusting through most of the region. But let's take a look at today's highs. Looking to Twizel and Timaru, 12 degrees for you today. Temuka and Geraldine, both on 14. Heading to mid-Canterbury, Christchurch on 14 degrees, a little bit warmer for you. Darfield, Leeston, Ashburton and Methven, 13 for everyone here and 12 for Akaroa. Heading to North Canterbury, Kaikoura on 14 degrees, also shared by Amberley and Rangiora. 13 degrees for Cheviot, Hanmer Springs, Culverden and Oxford. Looking over to the Alpine region, 12 degrees for Mount Cook and Lake Tekapo. Let's take a look at tomorrow's weather for the major centres. Timaru, a few southwesterly winds coming through tomorrow evening. Should be fine during the day though, and 10 degrees is your high. Looking to Ashburton now, those southwesterlies are there as well for Ashburton. Few cloudy skies and rainy patches for your evening. Over to the Garden City, a similar picture here with these southwesterlies coming through, a little bit cooler though on 9 degrees. And over to Kaikoura, again these southwesterlies, cloudy patches and a little bit of drizzle. 12 is your high tomorrow, so a little bit warmer for you. Looking to the other areas for tomorrow's temperatures, rain coming through here, Twizel and Waimate on 10 degrees. As we head to mid-Canterbury, we see rain for Darfield and Methven with these southwesterlies coming through. Leeston and Akaroa, sunshine for you though, and 10 degrees is your high. Up to North Canterbury now, we're seeing rain coming through, 10 degrees for everywhere apart from Hanmer Springs on 9, a little bit cooler for you. Looking to the Alpine region now, 10 degrees for everyone here and a little bit of rain coming through as well. Looking to the upcoming days, Saturday we're seeing sunny skies, a little bit of cloud for Ashburton and the early teens here, and we've got light winds and a few northwesterlies hanging on. Over to Sunday, we're seeing another southwesterly change on Sunday. 13 degrees is the highest for Timaru and a little bit of rain coming through as well. Looking to the other areas for the next upcoming days, these northwesterlies are here, but the winds are a little bit lighter on Saturday, hopefully making it nice on the ski fields. Over to Sunday, we're seeing these southwesterly winds and that southwesterly change coming through, bringing a few showers with it. Sunny patches for a few paces, especially in mid-Canterbury, and those southwesterlies and rain continuing for the north. As we can see, that southwesterly change is expected on Friday. However, we are hoping that it is going to come out sunny on Saturday. For now though, that's your weather update for Thursday.
Thanks, Mercy. We're just repeating our breaking news tonight. Police have confirmed 4 people have been found dead at a home in Ashburton. Police are at the property in Tinwood. Inspector Dave Gaskin says ambulance staff and firefighters are also at the scene. Police have cordons in place. They say it's too early to say exactly what's gone on there, but we'll bring you more updates on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Lynch in NZ. And in the meantime, that is CTV News for now. Have a good evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.